So hi Naveen.
Hi Rajiv. Yeah, hi.
Yes. So
Uh, just wait for 2 more minutes. The other persons are also, the other students are also joining.
okay, sure.
Yeah. Hi Rajiv. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
hi.
start.
Okay, great. So guys, hi there. Right. So let me start something very interesting. Right. So last time we have seen some procedural stuff, how to use if else, how to use looping, how to use switch case, and the most important thing that is called dry run. Right. So let me start the things today with the object oriented concepts. Right. So this is the agenda which I thought of. Okay, so I hope you can see my PPT. I normally don't like PPT, but I have to show some graphics to you. So we want to save some time. So let me start, right? So the agenda is that we want to understand here what is the basic principle of object orientation, right? So these are the important ingredient: encapsulation, abstraction, modularity, inheritance, or it is also called hierarchy, and polymorphism and message passing. So even if you are going for any interview, whether you are fresher, lateral, I've seen many people are normally very much confused between encapsulation, abstraction, especially. So I hope I will help you out to clear your concept with some real life example. So this would be for around 20 to 30 minutes. Okay, let's say 30 minutes. And the next session, we are going to keep something on the practical hands-on, which is consisting of class, object, okay, how to create object, how to create classes, how to implement it methods. Okay, an object have something that is called state, identity, and behavior, how to declare constructor, and instance variable, initializing block, okay, static method, and how to declare package and visibility specifier. Even I was thinking I should schedule in between some interview questions with you. So today is the third session. Sorry. So I believe on the end of fifth or sixth session, I will come up with lots of interview questions for you, so that you know what type of questions people are asking, or people could ask you in the industry, right? So let me start. So I hope you have understood the agenda for the next 1 hour and so. So if you see here, this is a very interesting diagram. If you see here on my screen, so what I'm trying to depict in this diagram, that whenever you talk about any software system, whether it's a web application or desktop application, internally that application may be very much complicated. There may be so many component of that web application, if you see here, or desktop application. But what we want to hide the implementation detail from the user. And if I have a naive user, he should see a very smooth interface to interact with the system. And as per the user, the system should be very easy, or it should be hidden from the complexity. The requirement for a good software engineer is that how he should hide the complexity from the naive user, how he should design the good API. Definitely my next few minutes will help you to understand it. Okay, right. So if you see here, this is the important thing. These are also called pillars of object orientation. Let's say if we are creating a building, our foundation should be strong, right? So again, I'm saying these things are foundation: abstraction, encapsulation, modularity, and hierarchy. So what do you mean by abstraction? What do you mean by encapsulation? Let me go further on this, right? So I have referred some good books and find out some good definition. I also go to Stack Overflow and lots of links I search so that I can best help you out, right? So this is the definition of abstraction, right, which I found, right? So abstraction is actually a fundamental way that we use to cope with the complexity, right? So if you see here, even if this diagram will suggest you that our software system may be very much complicated, but from this naive user point of view, we have hidden the complexity of the system, right? So that is one way of understanding abstraction. So let me read out the another definition, then I will give you my own view on that, right? This is the another definition I found about the abstraction. So abstraction denote the essential characteristic, right? What do you mean by essential characteristic? Okay, let me put a question mark here. Of an object that distinct it from the other kind of object, right? So we have two things. Whenever we are defining abstraction, we have to find out essential characteristic of an object that distinct it from other kind of object. Okay, so that is the definition. So if you see here, this is a very famous diagram. Which, if you see here, I have a cat, right? So this is the cat. But if I'm designing a software, let's say this is me, and I'm a software engineer. I'm going to a client, and my client is an old lady, and she loves animal too much. So if I'm designing software for that old lady, she loves the animal too much. If I'm designing the cat class for her, so she might not be interested about the number of bones of the cat, what is the blood group of the cat. She's always asking me, Rajiv, I want to remember the name of cat. I want to remember the bird of the cats. I want to find out what is the best food I can give them. So because she's loving cat too much, she have nothing to do with the blood group, medicine, or injection which should be given to the cat. But if I'm creating the same cat class for this veterinary doctor, so veterinary doctor don't care what is the favorite food of the cat. It's not none of her business, right? So she's only concerned about what is the body part of the cat, okay, whether the vaccination of cat was done on the time or not. So if you see here, I'm the same guy, right? I'm the same guy. But if I'm designing the cat class from the doctor point of view, my way of understanding about cat is changed. Or if I'm designing that particular class for a veterinary, sorry, for a old lady, my view of the class has changed. Okay, so if we go back to the definition, like let me read it, right? So what is the definition? It says that abstraction denote the essential characteristic of an object that distinct it from all kind of object, right? So if you see here, we have a cat, but if we are trying to things from
Hi,
the,
sir. Excuse me.
yeah, yeah, please.
I can't see your PPT. I can see only agenda PPT.
Okay, I don't know, I'm going further, but Naveen, can you ensure what's going on? Because I'm scrolling the PPT, I don't know if it is not shared with you or not.
It's sharing only agenda. Rajiv. Can you just stop and share again?
Yeah, now we
Okay.
can see.
Yeah, now it
Okay.
came.
So, so because I'm running a PPT in run mode, so can you not see the PPT on the run mode? Let's say, can you see the agenda PPT and the next diagram dealing with the software complexity?
Now we can see OOPS fundamentals.
I don't know what's going on. So let's say, okay, I'm running the PPT on projector mode. I don't know what is happening here. Can you see the agenda and PPT next page now?
Now we can see.
Okay, but you cannot see in the run mode. Let me go in run mode again. You cannot see right now.
Now we can see only dealing with software complexity.
Not the diagram.
Diagram we can see.
Okay, you can see
The
the
fourth
diagram, right?
we can't see, that one is empty, I think. The fourth slide.
Ah, that's okay. That's empty deliberately because I want to write something there, right? So, but you can see this diagram, right?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, great, great. So I was trying to tell you that we have to deal with the software complexity, and if we are dealing with the software, we have a very important word that is called abstraction. Okay. So if you see here, this is the definition written here. I will try to just a minute. Right. So if I read it out for you, what is abstraction? Abstraction focus on the essential characteristic of an object, and we have to from the relative or perspective of the viewer. So if you see here, this definition is simply clearly mentioning that the abstraction for this old lady is different, and abstraction for this particular doctor, veterinary doctor, is different. They are seeing the same cat, they are seeing the same cat, but from the different perspective, right? So that is a one of the meaning of abstraction. Okay, so if I take this plain slide to explain you, as per my understanding, abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing. Okay, focus on essential.
Sir, but we can't see your slide right now. We are in only third slide.
Okay, I don't know what's going on. So anyway, so can you see this slide now?
Yeah, we can see this.
Okay, I don't know what is the projection problem happening. Maybe because of something. So we are trying to understand something about abstraction. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I hope you can read it. Abstraction means focus on essential thing,
No, sir,
right?
it's not showing up.
What's happening? Let me stop and share the screen again with you. Okay, where I'm. Okay, can you see here now?
Yeah, no, we can see.
Okay, so I was talking about abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing, and we can focus on essential thing if we ignore unnecessary detail. Okay, let me give another example to you beside that cat example. Let's say this is you, okay, and there's a friend of you, right? And your friend is asking you how you come from your home to college. So you can simply answer him that I come through a vehicle. Okay, so vehicle, you're not coming through a vehicle. You might be coming through a car. You might be coming through a bike. But in nutshell, you're simply saying to a friend that I'm coming through a vehicle. So vehicle is just a abstraction. Vehicle is nobody can move through a vehicle. Vehicle is just a abstraction. Then your friend may ask you which vehicle you have come. Then you can say, okay, I'm coming through bike, which is of 150cc and that brand, and so on, right? So basically, whenever we talk to anybody, we always talk in terms of abstraction. Okay, so this is the another example. I can give you another thought process about abstraction. So if we go back here, right? So what is this definition is saying? Whenever we are talking about abstraction, abstraction arises from recognition of similarities between certain object or situation or process in the real world. Okay, and decision on concentration upon these similarities and to ignore the time being the difference. So this is a very important definition. By the way, this definition is given by a computer scientist that is called Tony Hoare, right? And this definition worth understanding, right? This is very important definition. So abstraction arises from a recognition of similarities between the certain object. Okay, so let me give another examples to you. So let's say if I ask you, think about your college professor or think about your teacher. So whenever you think about teacher, what things come to your brain? Okay, so you can say that one thing coming to my brain, that teacher is always having a good books. Okay, teacher have lots of knowledge. Okay, and teacher teaches. Okay, so if you think about teacher, all these things comes to your brain, right? So whatever comes to your brain, you are only focusing on the essential thing. Okay, you are not seeing what is the color of teacher, or there may be lot of the things you don't care what is the family background of the teacher. If you're studying with a teacher, you're only concerned about what is his knowledge and what is the subject area and what are the books or some suggestion he's giving you. So basically, whenever we are attending the session of a teacher or trainer, we focus on essential thing, right? We focus on essential thing. We hide the unnecessary detail. There could be lots of unnecessary detail. Okay, for example, as I told you, what is his family background, how many kids he has. Okay, what is the exact address of that particular guy? We don't care, right? Because we only focus on essential thing, right? If you are looking for more example, okay, let me come to the computer programming example. Let's say, I hope you know something about stack and queues, right? Okay. So let's say we are designing the stack software. Okay. So stack is a data structure, we all know. And if you are defining the stack data structure, we have to define the method, let's say pop. Okay. We have to define a method push, or we can define a method that is called peek, right? So if I'm a developer, okay, I want that I should have these methods. Okay, pop method should be there, push method should be there, okay, peek method should be there, right? So these methods can be mentioned as public part of my class. Let's say I can design a class called stack, right? So what is the meaning of abstraction? Abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing. What is the essential thing? These method promise maybe is an essential thing from the outside world. Let's say this is you, and you have designed this class, and I'm the user of your class, let's say. So I don't care, okay, whether you have used list or whether you have used linked list. I don't care really. I don't care what logic you have written inside it. I only care about the interface which you have provided here. Let's say you have provided here pop, push, peek method. Okay. So the public method in a class basically used to define something that I'm using another word, which is very important word to understand, that is called interface. Okay. Normally what happens whenever I talk about interface, people start thinking about Java interface. Okay, don't go there. Okay, I'm not talking about interface as a Java keyword. I'm just talking about the interface as a layer between the two parties. This user is only concerned about the public method which is published by you. Okay, as a user, I don't care what is the, whether you have used array, whether you have used linked list, what is the logic you have written. I don't care, right? In that case, I can define, okay, these pop push method as an interface to your class, right? And basically these are the part of abstraction. Abstraction means what? I'm focusing on essential thing. What is essential thing for me? How to call pop method, how to call push method, how to call peek method. That's the essential thing for me. What is the unnecessary detail? How you implement it. Okay, so how you implement it, it is actually as a non-essential for me right now. I hope you have understood something about abstraction. Abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing, hiding the unnecessary detail. As I was giving you the cat example. Okay, so if we have a cat, and if I'm designing that cat software for a doctor, I have to think from a different perspective. Or if I'm designing a cat software for the doctor, I have to think from different perspective. Okay, so it's all about perspective. So my perspective is just to focus on these methods. Okay, so these methods can become part of something that is called abstraction. Okay, so I'm repeating, abstraction means focus on essential things, sorry, and hiding the unnecessary detail. Okay, how it is implemented, it may be unnecessary detail. Okay, so let me go back to this presentation. I will give you more analogy. I hope it will help you. Okay, can you see my screen now? Okay, my screen is visible to you?
Yeah, it's a paint.
Okay, encapsulation is written there, right?
No, stack or.
Okay, I don't know why I could not share my screen with you people. Okay, I'm switching the screen. Is it available now?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see here, so we have understood something about abstraction. abstraction is very important to design a loosely coupled software. I'm also using a word that is called loose coupling and high cohesion. Okay, I will explain you, and it is very much related to a proper understanding of abstraction and encapsulation. Okay, so if you see here, what is written here about encapsulation. So what is encapsulation? I think if you have done any computer science course, you might be aware about the at least a basic idea about encapsulation. Okay, so encapsulation means, okay, putting the data and method together in a capsule, and that capsule is basically called class. Okay, so encapsulation is basically used to hide the unnecessary detail, right? Because what I told you, there's something called abstraction. Abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing. Okay, sorry, and but we can focus on essential things only if we ignore unnecessary detail. Okay, and encapsulation will help me to ignore unnecessary detail. Okay, so encapsulation, how I define encapsulation here, if you see here, right? Abstraction and encapsulation are complementary concepts. That means they are related to each other. If you are designing a poor encapsulation, of course, your abstraction of application would also be poor. Okay. So abstraction focus on observable behavior of an object, where encapsulation focus on implementation that give rise to that behavior. So what's the meaning of this definition? Looks little confusing. Okay. Abstraction focus on observable behavior. What is the observable behavior here? If I show you the stack example. Okay, I hope you can see my screen, or let me share it again. Where is it? Is here. So if you see here, what is the observable behavior here? Okay, what as a user I can visualize from outside world? I can see here, okay, there's a pop method, there's a push method, there's a peek method. So these are the observable behavior of the class. But if you see here, abstraction cannot work until unless I'm not applying encapsulation, because encapsulation help me to shine these particular things. Okay, without encapsulation, somebody cannot focus on pop, push, peek method. Okay, let me give you another real life example to you. Let's say you want to be a great developer. Okay, this is you people. You want to be great developer. So what is expected from you? You should read more books. Okay, you should do more coding, right? So what is the focus of yours should be? More reading, more coding. Okay, but you cannot focus on your essential thing if you are wasting too much time, let's say on social network, let's say Facebook or something else. So I mean to say, you have to focus on essential thing. For focus on essential thing, you have to hide the unnecessary detail. Okay, so what I'm trying to repeatedly tell you, that we have encapsulation, and encapsulation help me to hide the unnecessary detail. Okay, does it make sense to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So if you see here, because understanding of these keywords are very important, because I've seen people even having some experience, they are not very sure what is the meaning of encapsulation and abstraction. That's why I'm putting energy on this. So you can see this diagram. I have created a class hacker, and I'm saying account A is equal to new account, and I'm saying A dot account balance is equal to -100. So this is a very poor encapsulation, because what is happening here? Anybody is coming and changing the state of the object. This should not be allowed. Your logic and your data should be encapsulated so that it should not be misused. Okay, this famous diagram is just trying to tell you your data should always be private and your method should always be public. Okay, can you see here? Your data should be private and your method should be public. Okay, right? So if you see here, this is the another definition which I like too much. Okay, which help you to understand. So can you see my screen now here? So if you see here, this is the another definition I've written here. Okay, about encapsulation. So encapsulation is basically changing the data in an organized way. This is a very interesting definition. Okay, so let me copy this definition, because I'm not able to use a projector on this PPTs. I don't know why. So leave this. If you see here, okay, anyway, so if you see here, I have pasted a very funny diagram here. If you can see here, this is somebody, he's selling some fruits. Okay, he's selling some banana. Okay, so what I'm trying to explain you by this banana street hawker example, right? So I've given a very interesting definition here about encapsulation. Okay, so many people simply say that encapsulation is equal to data hiding. It is not correct exactly. Okay, in fact, data hiding is the way to achieve encapsulation. Okay, what is data hiding? Our data should be private and our method should be public. Okay, that is all about visibility of data. If you know that Java have some visibility, okay, we have private, public, okay, default, and there's something called protected, right? So data hiding is achieved by using your data as private and your method is public. So basically, encapsulation is not simply about data hiding. Okay, encapsulation is more than data hiding. So encapsulation equal to data hiding plus something called constraints. Okay, so what is the meaning of constraints? Okay, let's say if I give an example to you. Okay, so if you see here, uh, so in this case, let's say this is a guy who is selling bananas, right? And he's a street hawker. And some guy comes to him and he ask him that, okay, keep, okay, let's say keep uh, 20 bananas for him and he will carry at the evening time, right? Now, what is going to happen? Because he has not covered the banana. Okay, there are so many customers come to him throughout the day. And when in the evening this guy is coming, and this banana seller says that he has no bananas, right? So what is the problem? The problem is that this guy, you can consider the bananas is actually the data of the class. Okay, you can think like this. What is happening here? He has not covered this particular collection of banana. Okay, let me assume that he has covered the banana with his and with some cover, and he has a slit here. So what is the possibilities here? If he has covered the bananas, then what is going to happen? He can decide whether he should sell the bananas to the outside world or not. So as per my understanding, the important definition about encapsulation is that encapsulation is not only about data hiding. Encapsulation is equal to data hiding plus applying the constant. Okay, he can apply the constant. Okay, according to some business logic, he can decide whether he should sell banana to the outside world or not. So encapsulation is actually changing data in organized way. Okay, we want to change data in the organized way by using data hiding and applying business constant. So I don't know whether this definition going to your head or not. Let me show you some practical real life code to you so that you can understand how to achieve encapsulation and abstraction. Again, I'm repeating, abstraction means focus on essential thing and encapsulation help me to hide unnecessary detail. Okay, so let me see some code here. Okay, my screen is visible to you. Where is that? Eclipse, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you see here, let me write some piece of code so that I can explain you what we have just understood theoretically, right? Okay. So let's say we are creating a banking application. That is also our project, which we have to start in few days, right? So if you see here, we have a class that is called demo account. And what is my requirement? I want to create an account object, account class. And what is the rule of that account class? Okay, account holder name cannot be changed. Okay, minimum balance should be more than, let's say, $10,000, right? Okay, and maximum amount cannot more than let's say 50K. So this looks very stupid constant. Let's say we have a two constant here. Constant means what? Some rules. Okay, we have this rules there that okay, account holder name cannot be changed. Let's say once we have decided the account holder name as Foo. Okay, but if we have once decided his name Foo, it cannot be changed. And let's say account ID can not be changed. Okay, another rule is given here that address Okay, address can be changed by, okay, suitable person. Okay, suitable person means suitable authority. Okay, it should be a authorized clerk who can change the account holder address in the bank, right? So these are some constant to me, right? And I also want to design something that is called what? Transfer fund. Okay, we want to transfer fund from account A to account B. So this is our some requirement. Let's say we start about this code. Okay, so what is the basic thing we should have to do? Okay, we have to create a class. Let's say we can create something called class. So what is class? Class is a keyword. Okay, if I hope you know a little bit about this. Okay, so we are writing a class here, and what we can do here, let's say we are writing end account ID. Let's say we are writing end, or let's say something here, string holder account holder name. I told you last time, right? I think we have discussed a little bit on coding convention. Okay, so whenever we are designing the name of variable, we should follow camel notation. Okay, why I'm calling it camel notation? So if you see here, so whenever you are reading this a variable, okay, if you're reading this variable, you have to start with the lowercase, and whenever you have to change this change a word, because account holder name consisting of 3 words: account holder and name. So wherever you are stopping, you have to capitalize it. That's why the symbol is actually look like a bump of what it called camel. Okay, so if it look like bump of the camel, that's why it is called camel notation, right? So it's good that we should follow coding convention. Anyway, so we have something here, int account ID string account holder name, and let's say we have something here, account holder address, right? And let's say we have int account balance, right? Of course it should be double or something called big decimal, but let me keep the things very simple. So I define the variable like this, right? And we have designed some code like this. Okay, let me do coding here. So I can create this object like this. So by the way, this is the class we have created. Okay, our data is account ID, account holder name, account holder address, and so on. Now I can create object like this. Account is equal to new account. So if you see here, this account is a class and this is the object. Whenever you are creating new object in Java, you have to apply an operator that is called new. Okay, so new is a keyword which you have to apply here. Okay, it will create a object in Java. Account is equal to new account. But actually what is happening here, let's say if we are designing account ID, let's say I'm saying account dot account ID is equal to, let's say, 121, right? And we are giving here account dot account holder name. Okay, let's say I'm giving the account holder name is equal to, let's say, foo. Now what is happening here, let's say we design something like this, account dot, okay, account address. Let's say what I should write, okay, let's say I'm in Delhi, so let me write Delhi here right now. So I can say here account dot, what I should say here, account balance. Let's say if I'm writing some balance here, something like this. Okay, whatever. So now this is we have created the object and we have some set some state of that object. But my question is that it is a good code or bad code? Of course, in this code is very poor code because neither I'm following encapsulation nor I'm following abstraction, right? Abstraction encapsulation has to be followed. Otherwise, this is almost like C programming. If you know, in C programming we have something that is called struct, and in struct we can define some data and method should be lying outside. So what is the problem with this code? My all data is by default. Okay, so your default data can be accessed outside the object like this. So you can see here there's no encapsulation in my code. Okay, my encapsulation is very poor. Encapsulation means what? I want to hide unnecessary detail. I want that a user should not able to change the account holder name, account holder address. He should follow this rule, but nobody is following this rule. And what is the possibility here? Let's say, what is the possibility? I'm simply saying sys out. Okay, let's say account holder name. Okay, so we can write something here. Let's say account holder name. Okay, account holder name. Now, what is the possibility, right? Possibility is that anybody can come, and let's say we are writing the account number also. Let's say we are saying here that account holder, let's say ID or account number, whatever you say. So we have, this is the original position. Now what is happening here? Some intruder is coming, okay? Some hacker is coming, or some bad intentional programmer by mistake or intentionally change account number. So should it be allowed or not, first of all? Right? As per my business rule, account number cannot be changed once it is decided, right? So if you see here, now, because we have written a very poor code, so what is possibility now? Somebody can come here and say what? Account dot what? Account dot account ID. And now initially I've assigned here 1 to 1. Now I'm writing here 478. Okay. So what is the problem here? If I try to run this code again, and even somebody can change the account holder name also. Okay, I can say here account dot account holder name. Let's say earlier the name was Foo, and now I'm changing the name to Bar. What is the problem here? If you identify, if I run this code, you can see here, this is really bad, right? We have this business constant that name cannot be changed. Okay, account holder ID cannot be changed, but where is we are following the rule? Okay, this situation is happening because we are not following the rule of encapsulation and abstraction. Abstraction teaches that we have to focus the essential thing. What is the essential thing? Finding the detail about what is the balance of the account. Okay, and we have to apply all this business logic. So one thing you have to start with, first basic rule, that your data should be private and your method should be public. So if your data is private, that is the first step to achieve data hiding. So as I told you, that encapsulation is equal to data hiding plus business constraints. Okay, what is the spelling? Okay. So if you see here, so what is the first rule? Your data should be private, right? So data should be private. So if I'm keeping my data private, one good thing is happening, that my code is broken. Okay, that's a good thing, because somebody should not able to misuse my code. Okay, so my data is private. Now what I need to do here, okay, I need to define some getter setter. So there are some methods here. We can also define something here, constructor. So whenever you are designing the class, okay, as I told you, class is a capsule which contain data plus, sorry. So class is a capsule which contains data plus something that is called methods, right? Okay, and method can be of two types. One is called mutator. One is called immutator. Okay. To understand something about mutator and immutator, okay, mutator are those methods which is going to change the state of the object. Immutator are those methods which do not change the state of the object. Okay, so I will explain you more about it. So now if we have this class and our data is private, okay, so if you see here, my data is private, definitely I cannot access this data, because private data, if you have the private access modifier inside the class, that data can only be accessed within the class. Okay, and because what is happening here, my data is private, that's why I'm getting some errors here. So what is the solution here? You have to provide something that is called getter setters. So we have something here, getter and setters, and something here that is called constructor. So what is the use of constructor? Constructor is used to initialize object state, right? So whenever a object is created, let's say a human being was born, okay, so God has given something to him. Okay, so at that time we can say that object was constructed and some initial value was initialized to that particular human being, right? So same thing I'm saying. So whenever account object should be created, what should be the initial values of that thing? So of course, initial value could be default. If you are defining a integer here, it could be 0. Okay, here it could be 0. Here it could be, sorry, null. Let's say we write something like this. But we want to assign some useful value when the object was created. And for that, we can use something called constructor. And you should remember, constructor can only be called only once throughout the life cycle of an object. What is life cycle object? Whenever we create an object, a life cycle of object is created. Some new operator is called, object is created. Then what is going to happen? We call the methods, and finally, if we nullify the pointer of the object, it becomes candidate of garbage collector. So don't worry if you don't know all these things. We are going to clarify these things. So all these things I have started because I was trying to show you the practical meaning of encapsulation and abstraction. So what I can do here, I can define a constructor here, let's say. So I can use here, see, I don't have to be typist. I can type from my hand, but I don't have to be typist. Okay, I can say something like this, right click here, source, and you can go here and see constructor using field. Okay, so I can choose this option. It is asking me, are you want to include everything into the constructor call? I say yes. Okay, so if you see here, I can remove the super. I will explain you super when we'll understand about inheritance. So I define here something that is called constructor. So what is constructor? Okay, so if you see here, constructor is a special method whose name is same as that of class. The basic purpose of abstraction, constructor is to way to define so that you can create a object, right? So if you don't define constructor, Java will always give a constructor that is called default constructor. So let me also produce here that is called default constructor. Right, it is doing some super call. As I told you, you just ignore it right now. So if you see here, this constructor is almost empty. That is called default constructor, right? And this constructor, which is taking some parameterized constructor. So if you see here, these are called parameter. Okay, we have account ID, account holder name, okay, account holder address. Let me do enter, and we have account balance, right? So what we are trying to do, by the way, these are called local variable, okay, because we have to pass it from the main or somewhere else. And these variable, which are the part of account class, is called instance variable, right? So I was just trying to tell you, let me focus first on encapsulation abstraction. So if you don't know what is instance variable, what is local variable, don't worry, you will understand all these things gradually. So I've defined here one constructor, and now I can define here something called getter setter. So let me do select all. So now we have achieved one condition of data hiding. What data hiding told us? That your data should be private and your method should be public, right? So if you see here, it looked like that we have achieved encapsulation, but stop here. Okay, we have not achieved the encapsulation, although my code is broken here. But now I can pass the value like this. I can use my Eclipse ID shortcut. I can use account ID, let's say 121, account holder name, let's say foo, account address, let's say Delhi, okay, and account balance is equal to, let's say, $4,000 or something like this. So we can call constructor like this. Of course, this code never worked. But now what I can do here, rather than asking account.account holder name, I can say here account.get account holder name. Okay, so you can see here, we have a new category of method that is called getter. How I produce it? I've just used Eclipse ID to produce getter setter. Okay, so we have something here, get account ID. We have something here, get account holder name, get account holder address, get account balance. So normally these methods don't have side effect. Okay, what do you mean by side effect? Okay, side effect means what? So what I'm saying, normally getter don't have side effect. That means they are immutator. Okay, that is, they not change the state of the object. But there are some cases, okay, where this statement may not be true. I will explain you when we'll discuss a very famous interview question, how to create an immutable class, right? But for now, you can assume that these getters are not that risky. But of course, setter, what we can do in setter, we can mutate the value. We can change the value of instance variable. That is, they are mutator. Now question is that we have provided tons of getter setter here. We have provided the constructor, and let's say how to get this account ID. I can say here account ID. So what was my business rule? My business rule was that my business rules was that, okay, nobody can change account ID and account holder name once account was created. Okay, now question is that, is it still followed or not? Let me try to use here. So I can say here, we have got the account holder name. Let's say what I can do here, I'm saying changing. Okay, let's say I remove it here. So I can change the name of account holder name. I can say here account dot set account holder name. Okay, so earlier his name was Fu. Now I'm changing him Raj because I'm a hacker. Okay, by the way, I'm not hacker, but I'm just trying to give you example. So I'm saying here account dot set account ID. So I'm setting the account ID to some another account ID. Now what is the bad thing here? We have not followed the rule of encapsulation, right? So if you see here, so what is happening if I'm running it? Okay, so if you see here, this code has run, and you see here, surprisingly, we thought that we have achieved what we should achieve. Our data was private, our method was public, but still what happens? Okay, there's no encapsulation, right, in your code, because originally you thought that account ID and account name cannot be changed, but it has changed, right? So of course we have understood one interesting thing, which we should remember whenever we are doing coding. What is that interesting thing? That encapsulation is not only equal to data hiding. Data hiding is the way to achieve encapsulation, but if we are trying to about data hiding, we have to do, there's another term which you can find on Google that is called information hiding, and information hiding also includes something about applying the business constraint. So why this whole lot hell problems are happening? Because we have not focused on our business rule. What was our business rule? That account holder holder name cannot be changed, account ID cannot be changed. So what is happening here? If you have applied your common sense here, this is the culprit, right? We have given the setters. Okay, if you are giving the setter, definitely somebody can change the account ID. So let me remove the setter. Okay, now what I can do here, I can remove this particular holder name. Let me remove this holder name, right? Now what is happening here? Set account holder address. Of course, account holder address changing is allowed, but definitely that particular user should be what? A proper authenticated user. So here we should apply, should have some code to check. Okay, you can say authentication of user who is changing address. I hope it makes sense, right? So if you see here, definitely we are getting here get account balance, but we are saying here set account balance. Okay, but actually set account balance doesn't look a good name. Let me write the name of this method. We can change this name of the method. Let's say we can say here something here, deposit, right? Deposit or deposit fund. Let me write something like this. So what is the purpose of this method? Okay, so we can say here okay, let's say I should write here fund, right? So I can say here this dot account balance is equal to account balance plus something, I can say here fund. Okay, so but we need to check it out, and suppose this is the deposit method. Similarly, I can have another method here that is called withdraw method. Okay, withdraw fund. Okay, so what should happen here? Minus. So have we achieved something here? No, right? If you see here, this code is at least behaving in better way. Now somebody cannot change the state of the object. As I told you, what is the meaning of encapsulation? Encapsulation means changing data in organized way. So what is the meaning of changing data in an organized way? So nobody should be able to change the state of the data by violating the business rule. Business rule was that account ID cannot be changed, account holder cannot be changed. Okay, so now somebody cannot change the address. So this is a good thing. Okay, my code is broken here. The error is coming. It's a good thing, right? Because you should understand there are two kind of developer. Okay, one developer write the code, Okay, let's say this is the developer who have written this code. Another category of people, they are going to use that code. So I can say that API designer design the code and API user use the code. So whenever you are writing the quality code, ensure that a API user should not break your code. User should not able to spoil the purpose of your code. You should always follow encapsulation and abstraction. Okay, so of course the changing of account holder name, account ID is not allowed. It makes sense, right? So in that case, but account address can still be changed, which makes sense because we sometimes need to change the account holder name. So I can say here set account holder address from Delhi to, let's say, I can say something here Bangalore or something. Okay, or let's say there's a nearby city to me, right? So this should be allowed. Now let me move to the other things, right? We have something here, deposit fund and withdraw fund. But what is the another requirement I have is somebody cannot open, okay, account if he's going to the bank and asking that please open my account, but he has only $50. It is not allowed because minimum balance should be what, 10K. Okay, so we have to do something here, because if somebody is opening the bank account and let's say we are simply passing here, okay, even we are passing 4,000 rupees and my account was opening, it should not happen. Okay, because what is my business rule, that account money should be equal or more than 10,000. So account should be open here. But if we are passing the less amount, let's say if I'm only passing 1,000 rupees or $1,000, the account should not open. In that case, what I can do here, I can check here if account balance is less than, let's say we are writing something like this, 10,000, then I can say here, okay, I can say some message here, sys out account cannot be created. Okay, and from here I can say return, right? But actually this is not the perfect way, right? This is not the perfect way of doing the code, sorry. So we have something that is called exception handling. Okay, so I will teach you exception handling in due course. That would be the better way. But let me try to run this code. What is going to happen? So if you see here, if I'm running it, although it is showing me the message that account cannot be created, but can you see here a bogus account was created with the ID equal to 0 and account holder name is equal to null. Okay, so there's a problem with my business logic, because if I want to apply my business logic, I should better use something that is called exception handling. But I have not taught you exception handling. That's why I'm not using it here. But for time being, you can use something like this. Okay. The other things, what I should do, somebody might be thinking, why not we use here exit? Okay, using system.exit, there's a method, right? System.exit. Okay, so I can write exit status 1. So this is a very poor code, because if you write such kind of code, what is going to happen? Your whole program is going to be stopped. Okay, we don't want system.exit. You can search Stack Overflow and find out why system.exit is a bad idea in Java. Okay, right? So that should not be the option here. Anyway, what is the other things, right? Other thing is that if somebody is, so let's say we have another method, deposit fund and withdraw fund. Let's say my balance was 11,000 and somebody want to withdraw 5,000. Should it be allowed or not? It should not be allowed, because if we minus 5,000 from 11,000, we simply left with 6,000, and which is below the required range. So of course we have to check it before doing amount fund from here. And same thing we can apply here. Okay, let's say somebody already have a account balance of, let's say, because what is my business rule, somebody cannot deposit more than $50,000 in a saving account. So what I can do here, and this is for exercise for you, I request you to do it yourself. So let's say somebody already have 45,000 and he want to deposit more $20,000. Should it be allowed? It should not be. Do some of these two things, it give rise to $65,000, which is more than, okay, more than allowed limit. Okay, so that's just not allowed. So if you see here, So now you may be asking me, Raju, we have understood something about encapsulation, but where is the abstraction? Okay, where is the abstraction? If you see here, abstraction is here. Okay, abstraction is here. Abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing. What is the focus on essential thing? The public method. Okay, you have this public method of the class, right? And if somebody is a API user, let's say I'm the API user, I don't know what is written inside the code, but I can only call the method here. Okay, so these are called public API, or you can say public accessible method. And public accessible method of a class is actually defining something called abstraction for that class. Okay, so abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing. For me, I don't care what is the logic internally logic you have written. I'm only talking about public method. I'm directly calling it. I hope it have clarified something about abstraction and encapsulation to you, friends. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go further, because this is a very famous interview question. As I promise you, after a few more sessions, we'll discuss some MCQ question, and I will help you out to find out more in programming life. Okay, this is the another way of understanding about abstraction. Sorry, encapsulation. Encapsulation hide the detail of the implementation of the object. Let's say if this is a cat example. What this diagram is just trying to tell you, that the cat maybe seems very uncomplicated from the outside, but because of the encapsulation, the complexity was hidden inside the class. Okay, that is another view. So there are some blank screen. You can ignore them, ignore those pages. Okay, anyway, so if you see here, so this is a very important definition from another guy called Liskov. Okay, so I request you to search something about Liskov. He's a very known guy, and he has also given a very important principle that is called Liskov substitution principle. Okay, so I will explain you what is Liskov substitution principle later on. Okay, that is a very important object-oriented concept. So what is written here by the Liskov? For abstraction to work, implementations must be encapsulated. So according to him, or according to anybody else, it's a common sense, of course. So abstraction can only work if your code is encapsulated. If your code is not encapsulated, you cannot achieve abstraction. So they are related to each other. For example, achieving something good in the life required hard work and commitment. So without commitment and hard work, you cannot achieve something. So it's just like complementary to each other. I hope it makes sense to you. Okay. So if you see here, there's another fundamental concept of object orientation that is called modularity. Okay. So what modularity teaches? Okay. Modularity teaches that our code should be divided into the module. That means our code should be modular. That means we should not write a big class. Our class should be broken into the multiple methods. Okay. And that is one way of thinking about modularity. But modularity is actually beyond that. Okay. Whenever we are writing the code, we create our software modules. Okay. So that is also the way of thinking about modularity. Okay, jar file is also another way of thinking about modularity. Package is also another way of thinking modularity. Let's say we define a class into one package, and now we can decide whether they should be visible into other packages or not. So modularity is basically the way to package your abstraction into discrete unit, right? So basically it's helping into the abstraction. Okay, you can say something like this. Now there's another interesting thing that is called hierarchy. Okay, so what is hierarchy? If we see here, so what hierarchy help us to understand? Okay, for example, let's say if somebody asks you, okay, let's say from which vehicle you are going from your home to, let's say, your office. So you can say I'm going through a vehicle. So vehicle is there, but now we can have some more classification here. We can have something here, two-wheelers. Okay, now we can have something here, let's say four-wheelers. Right, in two-wheelers we can have something that is called bike, and in bike we can have something, let's say 150cc bike, or we have, let's say, 200cc bike, and we could have some brand of the different bike. So what I'm trying to tell you, this is called hierarchy. Okay, so in hierarchy, if you see here, this is the top class, right? So vehicle is there, and then we have two-wheeler, bike, and 150cc. So if we are going from, let's say, top to bottom, let's say we are going from top to bottom, we are actually going towards the detail. Okay, so that is the decreased direction of abstraction. And if we are going up, actually that is a increased direction of abstraction. Okay, so hierarchy is actually very helpful to define the abstraction level also, right? So whenever we are going down, we are increasing towards detail, and whenever we are going up, we are going towards the abstraction. Okay, does it make sense? Right? So let's see something more. Right, so this is the agenda which I thought of. I hope we have understood something about class and object. So if you see here, this is the way to write the class. We have written the class called account. Okay, and we have created the object here that is called account. Account is equal to new account. So this is the object and this is the class. Okay, so you can see here there's something more into that discussion PPT. Let me discuss with you. Right. So this is a diagram which is very easy to understand. What this diagram is suggesting you. Okay, let me check. My screen is shared with you or not. Right. So what this diagram is trying to suggest to you, right? We have something here, class and object, right? So what is the difference between class and object? Okay. So class is actually category. Okay. So whenever I ask you think about a category of student. So how student looks into the university. So they have some attribute which can distinguish the student category from, let's say, professor categories. So what is class? Class is actually collection of some definite attribute and the property which separate it from some other categories, right? So we can think like class is just like a cookie cutter, right? So let's say if we take this example. So this example is simply shown here. There's some cookie cutter, and you can use cookie cutter to create different cookies, right? So you can understand this class is just like a template. Okay, you cannot use class. Class is just like a template. You cannot eat cookie cutter. You have to use cookies only, right? So what I'm trying to tell you, class is just a way to create the object. So what is more important for us, not the class. Of course, class is also important because it create the it act as a template. But object is actually more important. The work is done by the object. Okay. So for example, right now, if I'm teaching you, actually you can say that a trainer is teaching you, but actually trainer is not teaching you. A particular instance of trainer called Raj is teaching you right now. So basically, work is not done by the class. Work is done by object. Okay, right? So let's say if you're going movie with your friend, right? So you're not going movie with your friend. You're going movie with your particular friend. Let's say Foo or Bar, something like that. Okay, so that is the basic notion of class and object, right? So if you see here, so this diagram is depicting you what is there with the object and how object is actually having some properties. So this diagram is suggesting you that every object have three things. Okay, one is called identity, state, and something called behavior. Okay, so if you see here, you can see some diagram here, right? So what is the meaning of this particular thing? Identity, state, and behavior. So if you see here, we have some object. I've created the account class. So can you see here, we have some instance variable into that particular class. So these instance variable of the class is actually used to create the state of the object. Okay. And these public method you can see here is used to create the behavior of the class. Okay. So this is basically the meaning of this particular diagram. So if you see here, we have identity, state, and behavior. Okay. So this particular class have instance variable. Okay. So instance variable of a class is basically used to define basically state of the object, right? So we have this particular account ID, account holder name, account holder address. They are basically state of the object. But if we are talking about this method, they are used to define the behavior. Now, where is the identity? Okay, so I told you object have three things: identity, okay, state, and behavior. Right. So when we talk about, let's say, if we talk about RDBMS, okay, in RDBMS we have something here, tables. In the table we have a notion of primary key. Okay, and if you know primary key, used to define, used to.
I can't see your screen, sir.
You cannot see my screen.
I can see the object screen.
Okay, let me check it out. Okay, can you see my Clips ID now?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So are you able to understand whatever we have discussed since now? Okay, we have discussed, let me recap. If you see here, we have discussed about the most important thing about object orientation, abstraction, encapsulation, modularity, and hierarchy. And I told you practically how you should achieve the things. Abstraction means what? Focus on essential thing, hiding or not hiding, basically ignoring unnecessary detail. And we talk about then encapsulation. Okay, many people think that encapsulation is actually very simply meaning about encapsulation equal to data hiding, but it's not correct actually. Data hiding is the way to achieve encapsulation, and encapsulation also needs some business rule constraint to be applied so that our code should become encapsulated. Okay, in a capsule, right? That means your data and your method are encapsulated in a class. Then I discuss about something called class. Okay, what is class? Class is just nothing, it's just like a cookie cutter. Okay, it's used to create the object. Then I told you object have three things: identity, state, and behavior. Okay, instance variable of a class. Okay, what is instance variable? There's something called instance variable and static variable. So instance variable is something, uh, okay, instance variable means that every object have a different copy of instance variable. Okay, so if I'm creating 5 objects, let's say account A1, A2, A3, or let I take a practical example. Let's say if we are talking about 2 people, so every people have different name, different money in his pocket, and address and all this physical location. So actually the name of every person is different. Okay, address of every person may be different. So basically I mean to say, if we have a data of a class which is separate for every object, that is called instance variable. It itself means instance. That means instance is nothing but the object. Okay, so basically if a data is per object basis, sorry, that is called instance variable, right? So if you see here, then I told you that we have object, and object have identity, state, and behavior. Just ignore the spelling mistake. Okay, I need to improve my spelling. Anyway, so if you see here, we have identity, state, and behavior. So what is state? I told you again, state is basically determined by the data, and behavior is decided by the methods. Okay, whether it is doing to transfer the fund, or it is actually doing minus fund, or setting the address. These are called behavior. Now, where is the identity? Okay, as I'm telling you, if we search analogy from database, in database we have a primary key, and we know if we have 2 tuples or 2 record into the database, their primary key is unique, and primary key is uniquely used to distinct between the 2 tuple into the database. But unfortunately, in object orientation, we don't have that strict rule. Okay, we don't have a primary key kind of notion. So we can have something here that is called reference. Okay, so first of all, please understand, this is very important knowledge which I'm telling you. So if I'm creating here account is equal to new account. So if we are creating account object like this, so what I'm trying to tell you, many people think that account is the object here. No, friend. Account is actually a reference to the object. Okay, so account is not an object. Let me write here. Account is not an object. In fact, it is reference to the object. Now, question is that if you ask me, this reference can be treated very similar to identity of object, right? So if you see here, now we are saying here account is equal to new account. So I just told you that account is not an object. Now you may ask me, then where is the object? Actually, object is there into some memory area that is called heap. So for next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to explain you a little bit about how the object is going to create it into the Java memory or JVM memory. Okay, and or let's say if I write code like this, let's say if I'm writing code, account A is equal to new account, right? And passing the account ID, let's say 1 to 1, account holder name, let's say foo, and let's say balance or initial money as what I should say, like this. Okay, so the point is that if I'm creating an object like this, can you see my screen?
No.
Okay, let me switch. I don't know, today some issues happening with automatically detecting the screen. I need to switch it. Anyway, so if you see here, can you see my screen now?
I can.
Okay, so I'm just trying to depict some diagram which help you to understand something about Java, how Java is going to manage different memory area. That is a that's an interesting diagram supposed to be. So if you see here, in fact, Java have 5 kind of memories, which is there in you can say JVM, right? But we are just going to discuss a little bit about 3 memory area right now. I will discuss JVM in detail once you are a little bit comfortable with core Java stuff. So one memory area which is there, that is called stack. I hope in college days you know a little bit about stack, right? So what is going to happen? You can push some element into the stack and you can pop out. Okay, so that is basically last in first out kind of system, right? So Java have a memory area that is stack, and it is per thread. Okay, what's the meaning of per thread? Ignore it right now. Let's say we have something here, account A is equal to new account. So we are creating an object. Okay, new operator is used to create the object here. I hope you understand, right? And what is this A? A is a reference. Okay, so I can create A like this. So if you see here, A is the reference here. And now we have another memory area that is called heap. Okay, what it called? Heap. So heap is a memory area, which is the most important area for a developer along with the stack. And then there's another memory area that is called method area. Okay. So these are some memory areas in JVM, right? So whenever you say here account A is equal to new account, a object is going to create it into the heap, right? So we have an object here. Let's say account ID is equal to 1 to 1. Okay, this is the primitive. And then foo. Foo is actually object of string. Okay, so right now I'm not going into detail. Okay, string is going to store somewhere in the string pool. Just leave it right now. So we have a state of the object foo here, and let's say balance to 20,000. So this is how the things are going here. Right, so we can say here A is actually object reference. What it called? Object reference, and it is also called object handler. Okay, object handler. So what is the meaning of object handler? Object handler, just like a reference, like there was pointer in C. Okay, so Java internally use pointer, but it's not available to the developer. You see here. So A is a reference. Okay, A is reference which is pointing to that particular object. I can create another object. Let's say if I'm saying account A2 is equal to something. So what is going to happen? I can create another object. Let's say A2, and it can point to some different object. Right? It can have some different state. I can also say like this A3 is equal to A. Right? What it means? We are trying to assign the pointer, or better you can say the address location of A to A3. Okay, so now we have another pointer, let's say A3. Okay, so we have a A3 pointer which is pointing again to the same object. So you can see here 2 pointer can point to the same object, right? Okay, this is possible. A3 and A can point to the same object, right? So this is some basic idea how the object are going to store into the memory. Let's say what happened if somebody is saying A2 is equal to null. So as soon as I say A2 is equal to null, what is going to happen? This pointer connection is broken. Okay, this pointer connection is broken. This pointer is still there in the memory. Okay, it's there, still there in the stack, but now it is not pointing anywhere. The value of A2 become null. So as soon as the value of A2 become null, this object, what happened to this object? Okay, if it is what C++, we have to write something called destructor. Okay, have you people done little bit on C++?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if you see here in C++, we have to write destructor with a special symbol like this, tidal sign, if you remember. Let's say we have a class D, we have to write destructor like this. And what happened? Many times programmer don't like destructor in the correct way, and lots of memory leak was there. Okay, I'm coining a term. I hope you know about it. If you don't know, I will explain in detail. Something called memory leak. Okay, what is the meaning of memory leak? It's a kind of, you can say, bug. Okay, by the way, it's a situation when you have memory in the heap but you cannot use it. So I'm not saying memory leak is impossible in Java, but it is not as common as it was in C++. So what is happening here? As soon as you say a2 is equal to null, okay, this connection was broken, and this object become candidate of garbage collector. What word I'm using? This object become candidate. Okay, candidate of garbage collector. So garbage collector is a very important component of JVM, okay, which does automatic memory management. We don't have to manage memory ourselves. So as soon as a pointer become null, that object become candidate of garbage collector. So as I told you that every object have a life cycle, okay, every object have life cycle. As a human being have a life cycle. A human take a birth and do his job, okay, lots of work he do in the life, and suddenly uh, he died, right? So same thing happens here. First of all, object is created by calling the constructor, then it will call lots of method in the life cycle, and then finally as soon as we do null to that object, this object become candidate of garbage collector. Okay, does it make sense to you people? Okay, so if you see here, I have also drawn a memory area, which I have not used to write anything here. You can also see here, there's a third memory area that is called method area. Okay, and what is going to happen whenever you are creating the object of that particular account class, JVM have to create a, put a metadata of that class somewhere, and that memory area is called method area. So what is method area? In the method area, okay, the definition of the account class is actually dumped here, okay, because it have to be used later on, and we'll discuss in detail later on. If you have any static variable, okay, you people know a little bit about static variable. Okay, something called static variable. Okay, so what is static variable? Static variable is basically per class basis. So if you have any static variable, don't worry, I will give you more example here, but I'm just trying to use of this diagram. We have stack, we have method area, and we have something called heap here. So what is going to happen if you have any static data of that particular class, that is going to be stored into the method area, and that data can be used by multiple object. Okay, I can give an example or analogy here. Let's say if a teacher is teaching you somewhere in the college, okay, in your college days, let's say this is all you students here. So what is going to happen? That particular teacher is shared among you people, and this whiteboard is shared among you people. So I can say here, this teacher and whiteboard is basically act as a static data for that particular classroom. Okay, all the object, all the student are going to share the same data. So if all the object are going to use the same data, used to share the same data, that data is called uh, static variable. That is also called class variable. Okay, and class variable is going to store into something called method area. Okay, right. So let's see here what we have covered. So I can show you something here. Let's see. So this is what originally I thought of. Okay, so I hope we are able to cover something on that. So by now, I hope you are at least a little comfortable on basic principle of object orientation. So we are just doing a recap in next few minutes, let's say next 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so if you have any doubt, please stop me and ask me some questions. I will try to help you out. Okay, so we have something here. We have covered something here: basic principle of object orientation, encapsulation, abstraction, modularity, and hierarchy. Okay, and we have discussed something about hierarchy. Okay, hierarchy is also covered somewhere in the inheritance. Okay, Of course, I have not discussed anything on polymorphism and message passing, but I will discuss here. And then we discuss something about class, object, creating class. Okay, how to create an object. Okay, what is state, identity, behavior. Then we have discussed something about constructor. We have something here, default constructor, parameterize. There's another very interesting topic called copy constructor. It's there in C++ also. Okay, by the way, what is the basic use of copy constructor? We already have an object account, and I want to initialize another account object from the earlier created object. So in that case, I can use something that is called copy constructor. Okay, and then I told you a little bit about instance variable. Okay, something about static variable, local variable. Okay, and then there's something called initializing block. It's just a few minute topic. So let me tell you something about this. Okay, I don't know. You can see my Eclipse ID or not. Let me try to switch screen again. Where is that? Right. So, so if you see here, so let me give a demo to you people. Just a minute. Okay, demo static and init blocks. Right. So let me create a very simple class here. Okay, so that you should focus on the concept. Let's say I have a class called A, very simple class, A class. Okay, we can have something here private and let's say ID. Right. I can also have private static and ID for all. Okay, so I'm just writing a variable like this, and in that case, I can have constructor. So this is very important. What is the order of calling of all these things? So we can have a constructor here. So I'm just removing here sysout. Sysout. I'm default constructor. So I'm just writing something like this. And then there's something called init block. Okay, what is the use of init block? Init block is basically used to put some common code. Let's say if we have more constructor, let's say this is the first constructor and this is the another constructor, okay, which is taking some integer val. Okay, and I'm saying here something, let's say id is equal to val. So you can see here I have two constructor. This is constructor, default constructor, by the way. This is called parameterized constructor. Now the requirement is that, let me write here. Let's say what is the requirement? I have some common code. Okay, I have some common code. Sysout. Okay, I am common code. So this is the common code which is there before the constructor, default constructor, and I want to execute it even before the parameterized constructor. Okay, so what is happening here? We have some piece of code which is common to both the constructors. So what I can do here, this is not a good code. If we have to repeat our code, that's not good. In fact, in computer science, there's a very simple principle that is called try. Okay, try means what? Don't repeat yourself. I mean to say that your code should not be repeated again and again. So what I can do here, I can cut this common code from here because it was violating try. Okay, so I can remove it here. I can remove it from here and I can put it. So by the way, this bracket are called init block. Okay, if you don't know. I'm not writing anything like this. I'm not writing anything. If I write like this, this becomes constructor. And you should remember one thing, if you don't know, that constructor cannot return anything. If I write void here, it would not be treated as a constructor. It will be treated as a normal method. Okay, so these are a very common thing which we should know. And as I told you, we'll plan some questions in which I will come with lots of tricky questions, some interview questions, and actually lots of MCQ will help you to clarify your concept. Okay, so if you see here, by the way, this is a init block, and you can also define more than one init block. Okay, let's say this is the init block 1. Let me write here init block 1, right? And this is block 2, and there's something called static init block. So what is the meaning of static init block? Static init block is basically used to initialize something in the static data. So I have something static data whose name I have given deliberately here, ID for all. So I can give here something, let's say 55. Okay, and I can write some code here, right? So that you should remember, I'm static init block. So now question is that if we are writing something like this, even I can have multiple static init block. I can have, let's say, this static block, and I could have another static block. Let me write here too. So now question is that what is the flow of code? What is the life cycle of an object? What is the life cycle of object? First, whenever we are creating the object, what I need to do here? I have to say here, A is equal to new A. This is how you create the object, right? So if you create the object, what should happen into the memory? First of all, the class A should be loaded somewhere in the memory. And when the class A is going to load into the memory, right? So we have these instance variable, static variable. So they are going to have some default values, let's say ID equal to 0, ID for all equal to 0. Then what is going to happen? Then you have something here, static init block. By the way, this is called static init block. Then it is going to be executed. And then if you have defined, okay, you have defined two static init blocks. So they are going to execute in the same order. First it is going to be executed, then it is going to be executed. After that, your constructor are going to be executed. No. First your init block is going to be executed. And then finally your constructor is going to be going to be called. Okay. And then let me try to run it. Then whatever business method you have written. So what is happening here? Static init block, then 1, then 2, and then init block. Okay, then 2. So I hope you can see it's a very simple topic. I was just trying to tell you there's something called init block. And I told you something about static method and its application. So static method is actually a little involved topic. Even this is also a very famous interview question, why main should be static, why we should write public static void main. Okay, so the short answer is that if you are using static method, you don't have to create the object of that particular class. Okay, I request you to search this question on Stack Overflow also, why main should be static. So this is that's it all from my side. I hope this session was useful to you people. Okay, and we can wind up. Do you have any doubts or any questions to be asked what we have covered today? And I will share this all code and PPT to you people so that you can refer it, you can check it and ask me the question. What is your assignment if you ask me, although you're not asking me? So if you see here, there is some assignment for you, my dear friend. This is the PDF. I downloaded this PDF from the same site, yet another programming insignificant notes. So what is expected from you? I hope you know a little bit about UML diagram. This is called class diagram. We have to design a class
I'm
circle.
sorry, I can't see your screen. Can you please share again?
Okay. So if Naveen can help me into this, I don't know what is happening today. So if you see here, now can you see my PDF file? Some PDF file from ntu.edu. This site I've already told you, remember?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are some UML diagram. You can find, there's a link there, oops exercise. Okay, where the author of that site have given lots of UML diagram. And what is expected from us that we should able to understand the basic about that UML diagram and write some code. You can see here he has given the skeleton code also. Okay, he has given the skeleton code. What is expected from you? You just need to read it. Okay, even you can copy paste of a code is not crime, but you have to understand the code, what you are doing, why you are doing copy paste. So he's just trying to ask you some question that please create a class called a circle, create a object, call the method, and do some experimentation on that, right? And he's also explaining all this concept, public, private, getter, setter, which I've told you. He's also using a method called toString. Just try this method. If you don't understand it, I will explain you next day what is the use of toString method. Okay, so at least try few questions. Okay, in the next session, I will try some more questions from this PDF if you have any difficulty. Any question to be asked about the today's session? Any doubt, my friends?
We have class on Saturday and Sundays.
Pardon?
We have class on Saturday and Sunday.
I don't know. Actually, people are busy in New Year bash. I don't know what is your plan
Yeah.
in your side
No,
of country.
actually, I mean, weekends the class sessions won't be there actually. Only on weekdays the sessions will be.
Uh,
Okay, so I can see my calendar. Today is 28th, and then I think we take a class now in the 2018, right? If I'm not wrong, Naveen.
Tomorrow session will be there, Rajiv. So after
Okay,
tomorrow, I mean, it will be on Monday. I mean, it will be on Tuesday, hopefully. So I mean, it's Jan 2nd.
okay. Anyway, I will talk to you regarding this, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, no problem. Let me finish this call and then we can discuss. So I hope the peoples have understood the things. The if you have any doubt, still you people are welcome to ask me related to the
Guys,
topic.
what about the previous assignment? Have you completed or it is under process or any doubts in that assignments? So you people can, I mean, stop Rajiv in middle of the session also, and you can
Yeah,
ask
yeah.
whenever you have doubt. I mean, the session should be interactive. Then
Yes,
only
yes.
easily understand, and you
This
can.
is this is
I
the
mean,
same
you
thing,
can.
Naveen. My input is that people should stop me in between, should ask me the question if they have any valid question, because sometimes
Yes,
even I
yes,
have a doubt that people are there or not, because this has happened in online session because
yeah,
I train.
yes, yes. In online session, because if it is classroom session, we can see the students. But in online session, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes network disconnection happens and
Yes,
instability.
yes. So I request you, my dear participant, please focus, and I hope things are understandable. And Java is a vast subject. Okay, definitely you have to work hard from your side, and I'm very happy that you people are listening me so carefully. But I appreciate you more if you ask me the question in between.
Don't feel like Raju will feel bad if you interrupt in middle and all. So he will feel actually good in that.
Yeah,
So
I
you
will
have to
feel
feel
I
that
will
actually.
feel good about that.
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
like guys, interact him. I mean, keep the sessions interactive. Ask more doubts. Get clear like the previous session doubts if you have any during the practice session. Also keep me posted the status of the tasks. Okay, so whatever the completion status, so suppose if it is completed only 25%, just keep me posted how much you have completed and where you got stuck, so that I can I mean, I can update to Rajiv also, and I can involve him in these tasks also, so I'll ask him to help you. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, try to complete tasks. Yes, okay.
Sure.
Because basics is very crucial in Java. So once you are good in basics, you can crack everything again, advanced concepts and
And
all.
Naveen, you see here, I'm preparing these people for interviews. If you have noticed,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
my orientation is not teaching to the freshers. Although these
Mhm.
people have not done much in Java, but my expectation from this trainings is that these people can face the interview. And
Yes,
after covering some core Java portion, I will discuss the interview which is asked for the fresher, let's say 0 to 2 year experience. So even if you have some planning, let's say if you want to show your experience in some companies, I think if you have knowledge, you can even justify your some certificate, whatever you can do in between.
yes, yes,
Okay.
sure, sure.
So even if you have some gaps of 6 months, 1 year, you can satisfy it to the recruiter if you have some suitable knowledge of the Java subject. Okay, bye for now. I think that's enough from our side.
Yes, yes, yeah. Utilize Raju's bandwidth properly, guys. So he's spending bandwidth for us. Yeah, utilize it
So
properly,
in,
okay? Yeah.
in interviews, mostly they ask algorithms. So what
No,
should
it's yeah. See, you see here, there are two things they ask in the interviews, right? It depends on what kind of companies you are targeting. If you're targeting product-based company, they don't think too much about Java. They are more algorithmic kind of interview questions. Okay, for that you have to get a very good data structure books for and there are two subjects. See, data structure is different subject and that is design and algorithm is a different subject. So I will help you out. Okay, I will share these things with you. For example, they can ask you how to create stack, linked list, queues using Java. If your Java is a primary language, how to create a balanced binary tree. So I can help you into that aspect. But actually, we don't focus too much into that. I expect that you must have done those things in C or C++, and then I can take 1 or 2 sessions how to create all this thing in.
I mean,
Uh, yeah, please.
what is the approach to solve these kind of algorithms? What should be
So
the approach?
so if you are solving these things the interview is always trying to ask you the performance. Okay, for example, have you heard something about big O notation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are writing any approach, let's say we are expecting you to find a particular data. Let's say we want to write something very much similar to hash map or hash table, something like this. Okay, so in that case, if you are creating a data structure and let's say he's expecting from you that searching time should be minimum, so you should have in-depth knowledge of something that, okay, if I'm arranging the data into the arrays, okay, and if I'm searching the data, if I'm very lucky, I can find the data into the first go. Okay, in that case, I can find the data into O1. But if I'm not lucky, I may take the time ON. So in a single list, let's say we have 100 or let's say 10,000 element, and I'm looking for element. So worst case is that ON.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So but what happened? Let's say if your data is sorted and you are using binary search. Okay, if you are using binary search, in that case, your search time it move from ON to O
Log.
log to N, right? And even if we are not satisfied, because that is not enough, in that case, what we can do, we can use something called associative array. Okay, if you don't know associative array, that is a concept of something called hash map. Okay, so we can have some notion of key and values. Okay, there's something called bucketing concept. If you don't know, don't worry, I will explain you all these interview questions, and then you can tell the interviewer, sir, if I move into that archetype, my search time can almost become equal to O1. That means constant time. Okay, so these type of question they are looking from you. Okay, so you have to increase your bar, and I'm here to help you out. But definitely, I request you to take these assignments seriously. Once you able to solve this assignment, I come to know that you people are doing this thing. I can put my more effort in data structure. For example, yeah, please, if you
So
have any question.
why is there we don't have any data structure for tree and graph in
Okay,
Java?
so for tree in Java we have. Who told you that we don't have data structure for tree? We can use something called a tree map. Okay, so there's a data
Tree
structure
map has
tree.
internal storage as a tree, but if you want to traverse towards left and right node, then
Mhm.
it it acts like more or less like an
No, if you see here, for example, if we are talking about the data structure. Uh, in Java, right, we have a ready-made data structure that is called collection. As you know, we have something called list,
yeah.
map, and set. So if we are talking about tree set, for example, so if you are using tree set is internally using something, if you know, something called red black tree algorithm.
Yes.
Okay. So internally it use tree, right? Ultimately, what is expected if you're going in a good product-based company, that you should know internal ideas, how internally hash map work, how internally array list work. For example, if you're talking about array list, internally it is a growable array. Okay. Have you ever created your own growable array? Okay.
What
For
is it?
example,
Dynamic array?
yeah, dynamic array. Of course, that's
Yeah,
right.
array list.
Yeah, array list. If you're seeing the array list internal, okay, you can open this by Control Shift E as I shown you that day. So if you open the array list internally, it is nothing but array. Okay, it's a growable array. So initially start from size 10, and after whenever the size is becoming 11, it is trying to grow automatically, right? It become double or something like that. There's a formula for that. But if we try on the other hand, if we have a linked list, it is using doubly linked list. That means we have some concept of pointer if you have done in C or C++. So there is lots of performance oriented questions comes into the interview. Let's say if somebody is asking you that we have to do more update into a collection of data and we want to choose a list. So definitely if you want to update, delete or modify or whatever, add, definitely you're not going to use array list. You're going to use linked list.
I got this question in one interview that create a binary search tree and find the path between two nodes.
Okay, so this question is purely a data structure question. Okay, so if you are trying to create a tree here or forest here, of course there's no ready-made class for creating the forest. For that you have to create your own class.
Yeah.
Okay, so but try to understand this subject is not about the data structure, right? Because if you originally have understood that the subject is all about Java API, Okay, so if you are creating your own data structure, we are not using Java API. Okay, but if you are interested, definitely you're looking for a very good, interesting thing. I can help you out. Even I can help to find out some online courses for that. But you can ask question to me also. Please don't do any doubt to ask me question on that topic.
Okay.
Because I also teach data structure.
Okay.
But
So
I don't want to divert. I hope you understand.
yeah, to do
Because
data structures, Python is easier, I feel.
Python is actually another programming language. The
Yeah.
purpose of Python is very good in data processing, especially data mining and all those things. So you cannot compare Python. You cannot compare orange with apple.
Yeah. I mean,
So
for data structures.
data structure is very simple. Yeah. If you're creating Python, Python code looks more smooth. But actually,
Yeah.
it's okay because Java is an old language. You see here, Java is now 22-year-old language. What is your age? I don't know, but it is near to like any youngster age. So it's still hot. It has some weakness. Of course, the code is more. You have to write more code in Scala and Python. Scala is another language which is object-oriented language, which is also in demand. So you have to write less code. So actually, writing less code and more code is not the agenda. Writing the quality code is the agenda, right?
Yes.
So you should not do any doubt on Java. Java is remain in the industry, is going to remain in the industry. And otherwise, who knows? Yeah, you should always also keep updated about the object orientation concept. If you are good in Java, you can easily good be in Python. There's no doubt about it. Anything you want to ask me further on this?
No.
Okay. Any other things comes to any other participant mind? Okay. Have you start referring this site which I told you? Yet another insignificant notes.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Good. So actually, every big step start from the small step. I request you because I want to make this training more fruitful to you, more interactive to you. So whenever I am teaching something, you please stop me, and I will try to help you maximum into that. Because if you're not asking me question in between, I think everything going fine, and I may be little faster. Okay, so if you miss some sentence, if you miss some concept, you can stop me in between, right? Is that okay to you?
Oh, yes, sure.
Okay, so good night from my side. Take care.
And I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, welcome. Bye. Bye. See you.
Bye.